Alright, everyone, welcome back. I'm teacher Nathan from Raffles at Work, and this afternoon, let's take a look at the O-Level 2020 paper, and specifically, we'll be focusing on our text file and summary today. Alright, so without further ado, let's take a look at the text first. Okay, so there we go. So this text here is looking at the penguins and how they behave. Again, you can see the synopsis isn't really useful because it only tells me two things about penguins and behavior. Alright. Now, I'm not going to read through the whole text with you. We are not here for a reading session, but I believe there are some important information from this O-Level text which I would point out along the way. Okay, so the text starts by introducing the character, which is in this case penguins, and the topic on how penguins were discovered in different places. So there are a few things that we observe here, which is firstly, some people describe the penguin that resembles a male geese because they could not fly away. So that's the first similarity here, male geese. Second thing that we observe, some people think that the penguins behave like donkeys. And why? They tell you the reason here, because they cry, and the cry resembles of a braying of a donkey. So this is what we need to remember from paragraph 1. The next thing we observe is in the history of penguins, another explorer here, Magellan, talk about how penguins are considered a flightless bird, and they they had some similarity to the northern grey auk. Okay, and you can see the flightless bird here had two things. They had an upright posture, and similar strange new, and they considered it a new version of what they discovered. After we talk about the history of how penguins were discovered, we go on to observe how the penguins were treated by people in the past. So we observe that they were very popular because of, over here they say, a quaint appearance. Sorry, let me just go back to that page first. Over here. So this quaint means very unusual. That means it's like not expected, or not one would expect of a bird. And they have a human-like stance. That means they look like a human in terms of appearance. Okay, and we observe two things here. That firstly, because they are hunted for food, their colonies have dwindled in the past 40 years. That means the numbers have dropped significantly. You can see here some as much as 8%. This is actually an elaboration of my first point, which is the numbers have dwindled. So we just be careful when we differentiate a fact or a statement versus an elaboration. Okay. So we already established the fact that humans hunted for penguins because it's an accessible food source, that means they can easily find it. The next problem is here when they talk about pollution and how human activities have reduced their food source. So you have reason 1 and reason 2 present for us here. And surprisingly, you can see that despite all these facts and statements about penguin population declining, the author also observed, or rather Magdalene observed, that penguins can be found all around the southern coast of South America, which suggests that penguins may be dwindling in numbers in certain parts, but that's not the full picture. In other parts of the world, there are a lot of penguins. So you could see that this is you could consider this as my thesis. That means a particular statement or point of view, and an antithesis at the back here, where we share about a point which is like contradicting or contrasting or opposite to my thesis. Lastly, in paragraph 4 here, we talk about how people nowadays are very familiar with penguins, but they consider them awkward looking. That means they don't look normal. And there are a few reasons why. Firstly, you can see that they have long bodies on short legs. So it's like a bit of a disproportion in their body. That is my first reason why people think that they are awkward looking. For awkward looking, I just draw this. And secondly, you can see that their shoulders or scapulae are low on their bodies. So this is my second reason why people think they are awkward looking. And we also have a few other descriptions of penguins' appearance here, about how their wings are flat, they have an S-shaped neck, and how they are able to how their behavior is different when they sit and when they stand. So when they sit down, it seems like they are very big size, but when they stand, they are very elegant. Then we can see in paragraph 5, it further talks about how the way penguins sit and some of their uses. So you can see that here, one of the uses for sitting is to ensure that they can prevent heat from escaping. So it's like a coping mechanism for the cold weather that they face in their habitat. Okay, and lastly, you can see, I can tell you here that paragraph 4 and 5, the focus is on the penguin's appearance. And lastly, for paragraph 6 here, we are looking at how the penguin behave in water. Behavior in water. So we talk about how even though the penguin can't really stand and walk properly on land, in water they are very good at swimming. So we talk about how they are very experienced divers here, and how they are able to swim the fish that they swim faster than the fish that they prey on. Okay. Hello, Shirley. And with that, we have come to the end of our text analysis. So you can see, broadly speaking, the text can be split up into 3 to 4 sections. The first 2 paragraphs make up the first segment, where we talk about how penguins were discovered and how people had funny ideas for penguins, how they were related, how they thought penguins looked like or were related to other animals. Then moving on, our second segment here, we talk about how penguins were hunted and therefore the numbers dwindled. But at the same time, there was a contrasting viewpoint that some penguins were thriving in South America. Thirdly, the author explores how penguins appear and how certain elements of their body actually have certain functions in keeping warm, especially, and how they are also awkward looking, and how they seem a bit weird because of their body makeup. Moving on, we also talk about this paragraph here where we see how penguins behave in water also. All right. So, are there any questions in how we analyze the text, or any words that we all don't know? How do you know? It's stated in your name. Surely. Okay. If there are no further questions with regards to this text and the details, then let's take a look at some questions. Where is it? Okay, further down here. Okay, in paragraph 1, the jackass penguins are compared to two animals. Which animals are they, and what ways are they similar? Okay, so you can see this question, when they ask you in what ways, we're just listing down the topic sentences. So you don't have to elaborate. You don't have to elaborate further, you just need to state and you'll get the answer. Okay. So as you remember, in paragraph 1, when I was there with you earlier, I did point out the donkey braying and the male geese. And our answers would be as such. Male geese could not fly. Donkeys, because they make a similar braying sound. Okay, so we'll just write them down first. Male geese and donkey. So the male geese, because of their inability to fly, and for donkey, they make similar braying sounds. Alright, so you can see that for this question, it's quite a giveaway because you just need to identify the animal as well as the aspect which is similar, and you'll get 1 mark already. Okay, so don't bank on the fact that you can get male geese and donkey correct but screw up the similarity and expect to get 1 mark from these two. It doesn't work that way. Okay, how you get 1 mark is correct animal, then correct similarity. Okay, if there are no further questions here, let's take a look at question 15. So with reference to paragraph 2, as you can see, in your own words, so there is some kind of rephrasing needed. The 2 reasons why Portuguese sailors thought penguins were similar to the northern great auk. Okay, so when they ask you with reference to paragraph 2, it means that it is not a direct lift and you just rephrase. You may need to read between the lines, and there is some level of analysis involved. Okay, so when we look at this question, we zoom in on line 9 first. Call it line 9. They say they thought the penguin was a northern great auk because you can see here they were flightless bird, and this new version also had an upright posture. So you can see this question also is very nice to you because instead of telling you the bird is unable to fly, and thereafter ask you to find another word for unable to fly, they actually tell you flightless bird. So actually, you can just say the both are unable to fly. It's accepted. All right, and they talk about upright posture. So you need to replace these two words. So upright means that something is straight. So you could say that they stood up straight. They appear vertical. They stood up vertically. Also can. So come, let's just get the answers out. So why are they similar? So the first one is both were unable to fly. Next, both stood up straight. All right, so where is it? Okay. So both had an upright posture, so both stood up straight. It's the same meaning. Now let's take a look at our question 16 here, which talks about conversation between our two students. So Gary said that it's a shame that penguins will soon be extinct. On the other hand, Sume talks about how penguins are thriving, which means that the numbers are increasing. So you can see this talking head question is a antithesis versus thesis question. You need to understand what the talking head question is testing you on, because this will affect the kind of information and the way the example will be brought across. If we are looking at antithesis and thesis, it's very straightforward. We are just looking at how the examples are contradicting one another, and therefore it will be this basis that people will say two contrasting ideas. On the other hand, another type of talking head question is known as the multiple point of view question. So for example, somebody will be saying the people in the past think penguins are awkward. After that, then another Sume could also talk about how the researchers nowadays also think penguins are awkward. So you can see it's different people, different points of view. So in a sense, the example needs to be tied into the stakeholder, and not so much about whether an information is contrasting compared to another. All right. Now let's delve into our question here. So we are looking at how to support Gary's point that penguins will be soon extinct. So when we talk about examples here, you need to think, what are we looking for that can support this fact or this premise that it will go extinct? Are we looking at facts and figures that the number of penguins have been declining? Or are we looking at some kind of real life examples about how penguin population is threatened by, for example, oil spill, human activities? Okay, so actually you can see that when you give examples or you give things that support the person's viewpoint, it goes multiple ways. And as we go to the text, you need to start thinking, what am I going to find? Because when you're objective in your search for the example, you can complete this question quickly and you can move on to the more challenging ones, which are summary and those that require you to rephrase. All right. So let's go back to this question. Let's go to paragraph 3, and with this in mind, let's take a look. So paragraph 3. So we talk about how they have dwindled in the past 40 years, sometimes by 8% or more. Okay, and they also talk about how it can be attributed to pollution. So you can see this one over here can be attributed to pollution. So actually you can see that this example here is basically an example of your factors that affects the penguin numbers, that causes the decline in numbers. So we will use this. The next thing we observe is over here, where they talk about how they've dwindled in the last 40 years. So you see, we are looking at two different types of examples here. The first one is your direct facts and figures. The second is here, where we talk about certain factors that will actually affect the penguin numbers. Now, some of you will be asking, how about this? Some by as much as 8% or more. Well, when we look at this point where penguins will soon be extinct, we are just looking at a general picture, not so much about the specifics. So we will not delve too much into sometimes as much as 8% or more. Okay? Because if you're going to write this, it's very likely that you may encounter access denied and you will not have the mark. So some of you may be asking, then when is it enough? When am I writing too much? Well, you need to ask yourself this question. Are the quotations driving home the same fact? That's the key. So if your answer is yes, then the next question will be which one is the main point, which one are you going to choose? Because you can see the numbers dwindled in the last 40 years. Yes, the inkling is numbers drop. Some as much as 8% or more. It's still talking about the same point. Numbers are dropping. Just that for my second part, I'm just telling other people that the numbers have dropped to a greater extent for certain species compared to others. But I'm still talking about the same point. And you can see some, but as much as 8%. So we are only looking at this specific critically endangered penguin species here when we look at some. Therefore, we'll omit this part of the sentence and just focus on the dwindling of the last 40 years. In the next part, when we talk about pollution and human activities, this is also a separate factor that we can consider. Okay? Therefore, this will be my answer. And yes, you just see two examples. So there isn't a need to specifically and deliberately go and change all the words. Okay, so I'll write as the population of penguin colonies has dwindled in the last 40 years. And next, I'll talk about how the penguin dwindling numbers can be attributed to okay. So usually when we encounter this kind of question where we need to give this kind of examples, the easiest ones are those that ask you to identify, because the word identify basically means I take from the text, put it here. The only problem is when we encounter this with reference to paragraph 3, that means there needs to be some kind of quotation plus explanation. Okay, so let's take a look at this question and we identify the quotation first. The explanation we'll talk about it after. So we are looking at how penguin numbers are increasing. So back to the text in paragraph 3. Now you can see, surprisingly, so you can see here, surprisingly is like a signposting of the language. It tells you that there is some sort of contrast that the author is going to draw, which indeed he draws. He talks about how they can be found all around the southern coast of South Africa, where they play a pivotal role in the ecosystem there. Right? So moving back to our question. Now, so your quotation is done. Then how do we link back that the numbers are thriving? So we need to talk about how Sume can state that the penguins can still be found all around the southern coast of South America, suggesting that the population has been over here we are looking at southern coast, and you can see the bottom part about delicate balance in the ecosystem. I would say that one is not the main point, but the idea is suggesting the population has been the population is large and sustainable. Okay, because of the word all around the southern coast. So this points to me that the population is large because it's found in many places. Oh, maybe we can even add on the population is large and found in numerous places. Okay, instead of using the word sustainable. So your explanation here is usually more of like a kind of inference that you can draw. So a very simple inference that I drew is if they can be found in many places, that means your population must be large enough. So much so that all the penguins cannot be relying on the same habitat, that one place where they congregate, and they have to like move out and find new places to inhabit. To inhabit. That's why we can use the term men in large numbers. All right. Okay, I'll just give everyone some time to take in the information on this page here, and before we move on, if you have any questions regarding this text, regarding English, do feel free. All right. Take a sip of water first. Okay. Now, moving on, let's take a look at question 17 now. So from paragraph 4, give 2 reasons. So we are just looking at the why. Okay, and why they look awkward on land. So that's the main thing you need to take into consideration. Okay, so looking at our text again, paragraph 4. So when we talk about when there is a certain mention of certain word, so for in this case awkward looking, or in this case your keyword, right? You can just zoom in on the keyword, the similar keyword that's found in the text. So in this case, it's here. So when there is a mention of certain words, it means that the information, the reason, the elaboration, etc., will always be in the sentence above or below. Okay? So in this case, we observe that they are awkward looking because they have long bodies on short legs and their shoulders are very low on their body. So we'll be able to use this for our answers. See, there are already the 2 reasons. So the answer will go like this. So firstly, long bodies on short legs, and secondly, their penguins have shoulders set low on their bodies. Now, moving on to paragraph 5. Here, with reference to paragraph 5, how? So we are looking at a method now. Does the penguin structure help to keep part of the body warm? So for this segment here, when we talk about warm, we need to think of certain words that are related to this idea. So if you remember earlier, I mentioned about insulated or insulation. So we need to consider that as well, all right? So looking back at our question, or rather looking back at our text, we observe in paragraph 5 here, insulate their legs against the cold. So it means that my answer is nearby. All right, so you can see the sentence above and below. So you see above, we talk about how penguins have tailbones, we can sit as humans do. So not related to cold. In order to insulate their legs against the cold, most of their leg bones are enveloped by their bodies, which come down to their heel. So actually you can see this is the method in order to achieve this aim. So your aim here is here to insulate the legs. And the method is here, most of the leg bones over blah, 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 blah. So you can easily derive our answer. So the penguins Alright, lastly, we have our favorite summary question. So let's take a look at the question. They ask you to summarize the appearance and behavior of the penguins on land and in water. So you can see there are 4 things we are looking at here. Appearance on land and water, behavior in land and water. So it's quite a lot to find. So if you think of it as from an examiner point of view, you need to find 8 points. That means each of these 1A, appearance on land, you need 2, about 2. Appearance in water, 2. Behavior on land and water, 2 each, and that will give you your 8 points. Okay, and we are interested in paragraph 4 to 6. So let's go back to the passage first. So what we'll do today, we're going to identify the possible points first. After that, then we would paraphrase together, and I'll share with you some tips and tricks which will be helpful in your paraphrasing. So, okay, paragraph 4 to 6. Let me just erase the information away so you can see clearly. Okay. So we are looking at appearance and behavior. So my eyes would be very focused when the word appearance and behavior come out. Okay. So firstly, we observe on land, out of water, there are illusion. The first two sentences are just facts. They're just telling you. They're just introducing a topic to you. So we will not pay so much attention, but we're interested in that details because the text asks for it. Okay, so you can see they seem. So when you seem, you have this perception. So you see. So that's related to appearance already. See, to have what do they have? Long bodies on short legs, and their shoulders. Long body and short legs. Full stop. You can see a comma. So this is part 1 of the information. Next, you can see their shoulders or scapulae are set low on their bodies. So I already have 2 points here. Next, they talk about the bones of their wings are astonishingly flat and thin, giving them the profile of a boomerang. So what can you see here? You can see the boomerang. So over here is the this thing can be considered 1 point. The wings are flat and thin. Their bones are flat and thin. The bones can be seen, and this will cause them to look like a boomerang. Okay, next we talk about how the natural stance is with bent knees and an S-shaped neck. So you can see this also can be seen. So we will consider this. And when they squat, they become almost round. Because all these words are description of what you can see. So let's take charge of the points. Long bodies on short leg, shoulders, low on their body, that's point 2. Next, wings are astonishingly flat and thin. Because, okay, let me just include the front part on the bones. Bones of their wings are astonishingly flat and thin, giving them a profile of a boomerang. So this is the third point. Then we talk about how the natural stance is bent knees and S-shaped neck. The fourth, they squat like when they squat, they almost look very round or spherical. Fifth point. Okay. Next, we talk about how when they stand up straight, they appear very slim, tall, elegant. 6th point. Now moving on. When they stand erect, their spread wide toes are heels above their toes. So over here, it's not so much about their appearance, but we are looking at the mechanics of their body. How their body interact and how the body helps them to stand, sit down, and things like that. Okay, when seated on the low, human are placed in a similar way. So you can see the main thing or the main takeaway is here. The overall effect is of two extremely stubby legs protruding below their abdomens. And how would they behave? They waddle like rolling, rotating gait, which is comical to watch. Now, if you see, which one is important? How they behave. They behave, they appear and they walk this way. So the behavior doesn't include how we feel of them. So this would be my 7 point. And over here they waddle and rolling gait, 8 point. Now let's look at the points when they swim. So how do they behave in water? They cannot breathe in water. We're just looking at a fact here, so this is not a point. They mainly stay near the surface to take in air. Yes, this is a point. And how do they swim? They jump out of the water while moving forward. So this is point number 9. They jump out of water, so this is point 10. Now we also talk about how when swimming, they resemble a deflated duck. They are simply matchless. How they behave in water, they're experienced divers and can stay underwater for several minutes. 11. You can see over here there's a semicolon, so this tells me N. So it's a new point now, which is their speed here. Often they are very fast. They can outswim the fish they prey on. So this is my 12 points. So you can see actually there are numerous points inside the text. But the idea is when you want to write your summary, you'll choose the shortest points or the points that you are also most confident in to get the maximum marks for your content. So in this case here, I will usually go for the points at the last part, the water one, because they are shorter than the front, especially the ones that talk about the penguin's appearance. Alright. Okay, so what will happen now is I have my text here. Okay, I'm sorry that it's slightly small. Okay, it seems like everyone can see from paragraph 4 onwards. Okay. So what will happen is I'll point out the points here. They are all highlighted and underlined, which is similar to what we have done. And what I will do is I will show you how I paraphrase it. Alright? Okay. So first point, we're looking at how they have long bodies on short legs. So the first thing I will talk about is they instead of trying to paraphrase all the adjective and all the verbs, these two are the things that you need to paraphrase. I will just say that they have disproportionate body dimensions. All right, for this point on long bodies on short legs. Then now we talk about how the shoulders are set low on their bodies. So I'll talk about how the shoulders are away from their head. Or rather, I would say significantly below their heads. So we are trying to emphasize this distance. So your head and your shoulder is something like that, right? But in the case of the penguin, what is happening is the penguin is something like that. So this distance here is larger, so it's significantly below compared to this. All right. Now moving on, we talk about how the wings are astonishingly flat and thin. So we would say the wings are surprisingly smooth and slim. When we talk about something is flat, that means the surface, there isn't any bumps, things like that, flat, so it's smooth. And when we talk about thin, the width is very small, we will say it's slim. So these are vocabulary words that we need to change. Now, you may be wondering, why is this word surprisingly being highlighted? It's because when you use any words, when there is superlative, you need to highlight it inside your text. Fourthly, we talk about how their penguin's natural stance is with bent knees and an S-shaped neck. And you see how this is related to when they squat, they become almost spherical. So we are looking at how the normal curve posture makes them, they say look like something, right? So they become almost round. So we say make them resemble spheres when they squat. Okay, now fifth. When they stand up straight, they appear slim, tall, and elegant. So we'll say when adopting an upright posture. They seem lean. Lean is the same as slim. Tall, we'll use the word lanky. And elegant, we'll use the word graceful. Okay. 6th point. We're looking at how overall effect is two extremely stubby legs protruding below their abdomens. Right, so we'll say two. So stubby means short and thick. legs. And instead of using the word protruding, we can say extending below their abdomen. All right. Seven, we talk about how they weather with a rolling, rotating gait. So when you rotate something, that means it's moving in a particular direction. Rolling, we are looking at how they're very clumsy. So we say move with clumsy swaying motion. The 8th point, we look at how they mainly stay near the surface to take in air. So we'll say they keep close to water surface when swimming to breathe. Okay, so take in air, I'll just change it to breathe. Next, we observe how they swim, they jump out of the water while moving forward. So we are looking at how they swim by propelling themselves. Out of water. Okay, so this one is the jumping, we change it to the word propelling. And moving on, we have below the waist, they are simply matchless and they are experienced divers. So it means that they are, you could say, when they are matchless, that means they are very adept. That means they are very good or very skillful at swimming. And can spend prolonged periods submerged. Alright? Now lastly, you could say that you can see their speed. And they give an example here, as fast as 2 meters per second. We wouldn't consider this because this is an example, but you can talk about the last part. Enables them to outswim the fish they prey on. So we could talk about how their swiftness in swimming enables them to hunt for fish easily. And there we have it, 11 points for summary. Are there any questions? I'll just leave this here for a while so that everyone can take in the information first. Alright, there are no further questions. Then we have come to the end of this summary writing. I'll say that more or less this paper is rather manageable. If you observe that quite a number of the questions here are actually direct questions that you actually can take from the text. If you look at question 14, 15, 16, 16a, most of the information and the answers are just found directly in the text. And you can, if you observe, the text did not test you on the tone of the writer or what are the it didn't test you on things like your tone or how you need to rephrase in your own words, explain something. Okay, so actually this text I'll say is rather mild, and this could be because the previous text which I went through yesterday, especially with regards to the narrative portion and the literary devices, I'll say this one is slightly more challenging, especially if you observe we talk about the tone of the librarian's comments and things like there is one part where they ask you to rephrase and in your own words write stuff. All right. Yeah, what is the contrast and these kind of things. So I'll say this factual text today that we read is trying to make up for the possible marks that will be lost by students in the previous comprehension. That being said, I will say that the summary is slightly more challenging in the sense that you need to cover 4 different aspects of penguins, and usually students, when they encounter summary, wouldn't have that kind of experience to cover all grounds in just 80 words. Okay, but that being said, I will need to say that the skills that is required, regardless of the type of summary that is being done, still remains the same. The idea is still about rephrasing the adjectives and the verbs, and this act of rephrasing is only done after you have identified the points in the text. And how do you identify them? I'm sure most of you are very clear about how we need to differentiate a point from an example, and elaboration must be differentiated from a point. So we are only looking for the main points, statements that are different throughout our marking points here. And at the same time, we need to look at the elaboration closely and ask ourselves whether they are related to our main points too. Alright? If not, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon on our Writers at Work TikTok session. I'm teacher Nathan. And if you'd like to learn more about O-level comprehension with me, do join me tomorrow and on Friday at 12 p.m. where we'll be looking at more O-level papers. In addition, if you have friends who are doing primary 5 or primary 6 English, do encourage them to join me in the morning at 10:30 a.m. as well as in the afternoon at 2:30 p.m. where we'll be delving into primary 6 prelim papers. If not, I'll see you guys on TikTok as and when you come online. Bye bye.